When it's been together, hey,
Chronicles of Rohn. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Batman, here at the aka Chicago. Hey, look, I'm gonna get into two things. You got tenders in the room, you might want to put them to bed because this is it. That one, well, the entire show, you know. So if you're one of those individuals of a sensitive nature, you might want to take your behind to bed right now. But I want to get into a couple of things right quick. The woman, Superintendent Johnson, you know, good luck, get well. Her 5'5" little old self, she's nothing to be played with. She is a little bulldog up there on the 5th floor. This is going to kind of ruffle some feathers to make friends. This job of being that all vacation days are to be suspended because we're at a point now where here in the city of Chicago where it's very, very critical that we have all hands on deck as trying senseless violence and just 23 shootings and 8 homicides. That's down from last week of we might be going in the right direction. And then again, we might not. But anyway, who is in second in command to Eddie Johnson on this one? If this is with any job, the first superintendent approved in October of 2018. This is prior to the changing of the guards. Now, if this is me. I'm looking at everyone that was approved prior to me taking office. I'm gonna have to let that stand because I have to take into consideration people have paid their money. They're looking forward to these vacations, spending time with their family. And we also have to understand Chicago. It is a very, very stressful job. Need that time to step away from the monotony, the rat race, and the insanity of the job. Within the last year, and I'm combining January 2018 to now. Okay, we have had 7 police officers commit suicide. 7 officers commit suicide, and that's just in the city of Chicago alone. Just in the city of Chicago. So we have no idea of the countless other to do. That's it. That's all. Point blank, period. Now, if you really want to talk about something, think about this. Think about you went on for 15, 20 minutes, however long it took, and then this baby came along. And then he decided he didn't want to be bothered with your ass. We all did this together. So you can't. And then if he doesn't want just a single mother. You don't hear a lot of fathers say, well, you know what, on Mother's Day, well, I have to be the mother too. We're not saying that. When you decide to lay down with this person, ladies, selective. Point blank, he pours his seed into you, and he could be a complete goof. He could be a Google eye. He could be a complete dummy. He could be an abuser. He could be a number of different things. A number of different guy. And I had to really think about this one. And he's carrying his son with him. And then when he turns around and he catches my attention, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's cockeyed. It was just one of them things. And people know me. I'm gonna see something, I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna just, kind of make a little bit of light of it and just tell the truth about it. So, the only thing I could say, maybe during the stuck that way ever since. But saying all that, and I'm being very comical about that. But the idea is that, ladies, you got to this individual or what you decide you want to do, how you want to go about it. You have to be selective. The first thing that an individual, and to understand what a father is, this man has to know what of indoctrination of what that is and means. Fathers are the ones that do not that take on the responsibilities of a lot of things. They don't complain about a lot of things. They just do what is needed and necessary. That's even those who do not have to be in a relationship with a woman who he passes on what he has. He teaches those individuals, or he shows by teaching them things. God said he is with you, and he's showing you the aspects of what a father is, not doing it. Now, let's pause for that moment on the father part. Let's go to the dad. Typically, long story short, let's get this out on. Typically, a dad is a sperm donor. This is a guy that's Johnny Fly by Night. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and he's on to the next show. To the next one. Or now, that's one aspect. One aspect. Now, the second aspect is that the fact that the original father is not in the picture, or for whatever reason, and the child may call this person, "Oh, that's my dad." They are grouping him into the father figure area, because this is right now. This is the only father. This is the only man in their life. This is the only person that they know, who they see is giving is giving them a little bit of time and teaching them, and spending time with them and teaching them things, showing them things. And sometimes using the term dad, it kind of gets it kind of gets lost in translation, a level of mishmash of what is going on. Now, over to the part of the man. Over to that portion of the man. When we're referencing a man, and then women, you say this all the time, that's my man, my man this and my man that. You know what? I totally get it. I understand that. But ladies, what about some of those individuals who are not doing what they're supposed to do, but yet you still call them your man, who is not helping you take care of your children, his children, ones he helped bring into this world, or the one who sees you in a situation and not only doesn't help you, but refuses to help you. Oh, your car note's coming up, man. It's not my problem. That's you better deal with it. But y'all just had relations the night before, and that's when you told him, "Hey, I'm a little short on my car note. I need some assistance." See, we have to fully understand. And then the other part of that is, if these young, if he doesn't understand what being a man is, how does he know how to do things? How does he know what is the responsibility that he himself is responsible for, if he's never been taught? Never been taught. Now, on the other side, there are some individuals that have been taught, but choose not to exhibit that type of training. Choose not to. Choose not to. And I can't begin to tell you on some of the individuals or people that I've seen, and you just shake your head, or even watching, some, as I go through life, and some of the women that I have run across, and they have sons, and I shake my head and say, and some of them have taught them the right way, taught them how to do this, how to function, how to do this, how to do that. But once again, as I say, they choose not to. It's a choice. They choose not to. Some of them choose not to take care of their children. Some of them choose not to keep a job. Some of them choose to to indulge in other things. That is a choice. You can be given all of these things, but at the end of the day, you decide whether you're going to be a good man or a bad one. You decide if you're going to be a good father or a bad father. You decide if you're going to be a good dad or a bad dad. That is a decision. And sometimes, ladies, you have to ask yourself, sometimes you have to even put it in perspective. Put it in perspective. Is this the person that you really need to be with? Is this the person? And just to kind of sidebar a little bit, and then ladies, and think about this for a minute. Ladies, the ones that have, and if you listen to the show, or you watching the show, and for those women who have adult sons, and you see your son or sons doing the fool, but yet you refuse to say anything. He's grown. Totally get it. He's an adult. He's gonna make right. Totally get that. Totally. And that's true. Sometimes you have to step back and let the chips fall where they may. Because if you gave him all the instructions that he's supposed to have, minus not having his father there, his sperm donor there, or that man there, but you gave him as much instruction as you could possibly muster, your job is done. Your job is done. That doesn't mean that you got to step in and pick up and clean up his mess. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to come in and continue to problem solve for him when he's in his when he's in his 30s or even in his 40s. That doesn't mean for you to do that, because once again, you're taking on the role that you don't understand. He has to learn that for himself. Good or bad, right or wrong. He has to learn that. Has to learn that. Growing up and keeping it real, I didn't have the best blueprint as I didn't. I didn't have the best blueprint as look at what being a father is. A lot of things I had to learn basically on my own. Had to understand how this works. I had enough common sense to understand that, hey, when I left home and started having children, I knew right then, and I knew at that particular point, hey, first and foremost, keep a roof over their head, clothes on their back, and food in their bellies. That means you're getting up and you're going to a job that you cannot stand and making shitty home, and then you have hope, and then unfortunately, some of us, we come home to a wife who's going to give us who's going to rag on us more because it's not the way she wants. But you remember now, you signed on for this. Once you had that baby, once you all knew that you were having a baby, you are this is on the job. And I knew that. I understood that. Even though I did not get the proper and necessary indoctrination or training, because what was told to me was, don't come in my house with no babies. And be like, man, what the fuck? Huh? That's all I'm gonna get. No, nothing. But at the same time, I had to think, nobody taught him. So how the hell could he teach me something that he don't know? This is where, as men, we have to break the cycle. We have to change the way of doing business. We have to change the way in how we deal with women, deal with our women. Ladies, you have to understand, there are things that you cannot say to a man. If he's on the job, he's doing everything he possibly can. Why do you give him grief? Why do you do that? Why do you feel it's necessary to constantly to feel the need to compete with him? Now, I'm not going to take it. Yeah, now I'm not going to sugarcoat this part. Now, we will agree there are some good for nothing, and that is the most. And when I had a chance to really break that statement down, good for nothing man, good for nothing, meaning this dude is good. He's useless. Good for nothing. He's no good. He's no good for a job. No job. no job, good for nothing for no job, good for nothing in the bedroom, good for nothing in a relationship. He is absolutely, he's what they call in the mechanical world, no serviceable or usable parts. Good for nothing. When a farmer has when they have a cow or a bull, and this bull is not producing, or what they call, they put the bull out to stud. If this bull is not producing, or it produces uh, a bad offspring, they put it out to pasture. They put it out of its misery. Absolutely put it out of its misery. And to a certain degree, we have to do sometimes we have to do that with certain type of men. Put them out of their misery because they serve no purpose. And on the flip side, it's the same. It's the same thing with our women. Good for nothing. Put them out of their misery. Put them out of their misery. So when we're referencing Father's Day, when we're referencing father, we have to understand the terminology and the dynamics that goes into it. Ladies, you will never be fathers. You cannot be fathers. It doesn't work that way. Hey, welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. Who do I have on the phone and where are you calling from?
This is Jason, Georgia.
Oh, here we go. This is Georgia, y'all. So you know what that means. He's going to blow your wig back. Your eyeballs might pop out your head, and some of your boo-boos is going to hurt. Take it away, brother.
All right. So let's dig in. And actually, let's go to the foundation. So the foundation, as we talk about, I think your theming was Father's Day. First of all, we have to qualify the difference between a father and a sperm donor. And I think you were making some reference to that, but we haven't identified the two. We have not separated the two. Neither have we separated or identified the term or the qualification as a mother or breeder. Okay, these are all positions. When you decide to reproduce without any understanding of consequence or trajectory into what you are going to produce, that's breeding. So here's the difference. Most cultures, Asian, Hispanic, white people, Caucasian, there is a plan that goes into some level of the subconscious of what they foresee their little Jimmy or their little Sally or Susan is going to look like, is going to act, is going to pursue as a career, as a life path. They already have a notion or a direction of trajectory that they are hoping to bring into existence. It's a law of attraction, or just basically you have a purpose. It's done with purpose. Not your black ass. First of all, it took you 2.5 months to figure out that you were pregnant. Okay? And the reason why it took you 2 months is because you grew up in an environment where you weren't even given the proper information on how to properly document your cycle. Okay, it's first thing. So every time it's always some sort of surprise of who did it and what for. Okay? So let's go to the other side, which is the males. You have not been given instruction on how to be responsible with your seed. So you just running all over, dropping seed everywhere like Johnny Appletree. But the reason why you're doing that is because you don't have any connection or any identity to begin with. You suffer from what I call the Legion syndrome. Your person or mom, pop, whatever the case was, didn't definitively know who you came from. So the best way was, we just gonna make an amalgamation to try to tie this all together. Might have been Lee, might have been John, might have been Joseph. So we just gonna call you Lee John. but you look like somebody completely different. But that's what we're going to call you. So because there's a level of connect and there's a level of just missing purpose, that's what you're doing. You guys are just out here breeding. And the children or the offspring, we know them to be children because that's the physical characteristics in which they are. But the offspring are really byproducts. See, most of us in our communities are reproducing or breeding as a byproduct. So, which means that the children were not the intended purpose. It was the after effect. Oh, shit, excuse me, this happened. Other cultures, children are created by direct function and product, meaning that there is an intentional designated place, time, and inception for conception. Most times. Again, there's an exception to every rule. But I can guarantee you, $10 to a bag of horse dung, that if you were to ask 5 people from all of the cultures that I just mentioned, Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, and other, short of them being midgets, humpbacks, gays, and lesbians, every single one of those cultures or ethnicities, I guess is probably the politically correct way to say it, will tell you that their children came out of some level of purpose and a preconceived time for that inception. At least 80% of the time, that will be the case. In our culture, it will be the exact inverse. So instead of it being 80% planned, it'll be 20% planned. 80%, I don't know what happened. Not to mention that subconsciously, we have already been conditioned that to never trust the validity of the pregnancy. Been subconsciously conditioned to never accept the validity of the pregnancy because it was customary for the slave master to put several of us in rotation to try to get a particular mare or a particular female pregnant with the strongest level of seed possible to produce the strongest males possible. And that happened in several different rounds.
Right.
So we still function under that.
And let me interrupt you right quick. And this is where we're actually at right now in the 21st century, 2019, to where this is what's going on right now. There is a constant rotation of individuals to where you're with this person, and this person, and this person. Well, or she's with this person, and vice versa. And doing it counterclockwise. This guy is with this girl. A constant rotation until the you have no idea. And then when the jackpot happens after 28 days, 48 days, 2 months, and somebody say, oh my gosh, hey, guess what? Or you getting a phone call and, hey, guess what? I got something to tell you. No, you don't.
So let us review a particular case that happened in Memphis, Tennessee, probably about let's just say less than 10 years ago. They had discovered by way of birth certificate and child support records in the city of Memphis, there was approximately 11 males that had fathered an upwards of 80 some children from 9 females. So look at the math. Approximately 11 males produce an upwards of 80 some children. We're talking about in one city across 9 females. So here's my problem. When we start to have these conversations about niggas ain't this and niggas ain't that, and you can't find a good man. Honestly, I don't think you deserve one because you don't have the wherewithal to even make the determination of what's good. You to already choose the worst. That's what you do. Prime example. When you go and you're sent to school and you get to the point of where you're dating, what are you first attracted to? How much money does he make? How many gold chains does he have? What type of car does he drive? All of this materialistic stuff without any understanding or training about how that was acquired and how that is to be maintained. So which means that your value system is placed on things without having any sort of cross-reference as to how to maintain them, or even more importantly, how to acquire them, which is why you consistently get stuck into a cycle of perpetual allowance syndrome. Allowance syndrome is basically saying, I don't know how this is going to work out, but this is going to work out because I deserve it, which is why Christianity works so well for, excuse my French, the modern black culture, particularly black women, but the modern black culture, because it feeds into the flow of this magical, lucky charm allowance thought that I don't know how.
Right, the proverbial Jesus gonna work it out.
Completely work it out. And every year he works it out where you get $2,000, $3,000, $7,000. And because you don't even have the wherewithal to understand what that really was supposed to be, you blow it like, again, it's an allowance. When what you should be doing is, instead of paying rent for a year, it should be trying to acquire a mortgage. But no, that's not what you do. You get your little income and you let Johnny tell you how he gonna flip it and get you $30,000 by June. But we don't need to go down that path. Let's keep it real simple. Keep it on the focus of fatherhood. Key point is this: we need to evaluate or reevaluate what we value, because we don't have any. We are a culture that is bankrupt of any sort of ethical code or morality. Integration was the greatest emptying pot of our value system that we've ever experienced. So with becoming equal with everyone else, we traded in every bit of morality, every bit of common decency that we had from the beginning.
Integration was an absolute disaster.
Well, it was an engineered social experiment. And here's the funny part: the social experiments that the system has so implemented is so successful that they no longer have to do anything. It runs itself.
It's like an algorithm.
They told you, we can help you get ahead, but you've got to turn in your fugitive boyfriends and husbands. And I say fugitive because we will provide you with housing. We will provide you with subsidized finances, subsidized food, subsidized care, but you got to get rid of him. Now, no other culture or ethnicity was told that was the qualifying measure in order for you to get benefits and rights that you were naturally supposed to get as a need below the poverty line. Think about that. Native Americans were never told, you can come on our reservation and you can come and set up shop on the reservation, and we will allow you to do, and then we will not tax you for, but there can be no men on the reservation. Asians, when they made reparations for them and they made them well again financially, never was there a mandate that the men could not join or be in concert with their mate. Hispanics, never, ever. As a matter of fact, it's preferred that you stay together. Many times, a woman and her pregnant self will, what do they call it? The attachment that allows the husband to come over. This is not propaganda talk. This is absolute fact that has been a public policy for almost 50 to 70 years. But you, on the other hand, with your Black Panther self and Long Live Wakanda, still ain't figured it out. They're telling you that your only way to be successful is you have to give up the progenitor and the provider for your species. And you took it hook, line, and sinker and have been turning them over for ransom ever since. So how do you say, well, how are we turning them over for ransom? You're doing that through the child support system.
Yep.
Okay. You're doing that through the incarceration system because you are allowing them to engage in activity that you know will ultimately end in either their death or their lockup. So you are a co-conspirator to it. You are not training your sons how to be properly educated and properly equipped to become men. You are, by your own admission, making poor decisions in the grade of men that you produce with.
It's the term. Be careful who you have babies by.
Okay, so you are your own genocidal. You're worse than a vaccine. A vaccine is chemically engineered. You are socially engineered.
Mm-hmm.
And at least a vaccine has a level of randomness that nobody can calculate. No, you guys have calculated it and have made a conference of it. So I'm saying we are once again missing the bigger picture. We're the only culture that has been socially and genetically separated from the very people who are able to make a stronger race stronger. Any culture, any nation, prime example, Egypt. Egypt failed because there were no strong men left to reign. Nefertiti was one of the last pharaohs, emperors, whatever you want to call it. Correct. And that was a Hail Mary. Her Hail Mary was she was trying to make sure that the son that she had for Mark Antony wouldn't make it to maturity. They had other plans. And since that son did not make it to maturity, there was no need to keep her.
Right. Right.
And since there was no need to keep her, and all of the males that were of nobility in her bloodline immediately were destroyed, some of them at her own hand, Rome took that as an easy win. This isn't something I'm making up. This is history. So when they go to tell you that fallacy of black girl magic and black girl power, that's great, cool, keep it. But you need to understand the bigger agenda. In 1919 and 1912, they fooled you once. Told you y'all was all sisters in the struggle and y'all need to stick together. And we all need to get out here and tell these men that we're equal and we're doing equal and we deserve equal pay and blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, she got her right to vote. And you got sent to the kitchen to wash some dishes. Ding. So they did round two.
Ding, ding.
Round two was, well, we know we messed up the first time, but we really see that we need you now because you guys have really made such great sacrifices. We look at your children and we look at all the things that you've done for them and all of the things that you've done for us. Because remember now, when she got liberated in 1912 and 1919 for her woman's suffrage movement, she was able to go to work. So who went to deal with her children? You. where she got her second win to now become anything and to be equal with all men in the 70s, who got left raising her children? Again, you. Meanwhile, your children had to become latchkey kids, fending for themselves.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to throw something else out at you. And with that being said too, with the latchkey kids, okay. And let's sidetrack for a minute. Let's go down the sidetrack, and let's go into the part of where you have in this and the breakdown of the home, to where now you have the grandmothers raising the children, to where the mother has either failed to meet the needs, can't meet the needs, or put some man in front of those children, to where the grandmother had no choice but to step in, or they were dumped off on the grandparent.
Okay, so in that situation, let me just be very clear. In that situation, I have no sympathy for the grandparents. The reason being is because that means that you failed twice. Let's just be honest. See, children just don't completely lose their ape crap. They just don't lose their Cheerios over a glass of milk. Okay? Typically, they don't. There's a couple of bad apples.
True that.
But when I hear situations like that where there's a constant upheaval of the grandparents who had to step in and do this and had to make this happen, no. You get no credit for that, because really what that says is that you failed as a parent. Okay, right. You failed as a parent,
right?
And because you failed as a parent, now you have to do double duty to cover the gaps that you created in the first generation. I'm
glad you said that too. Now, what about those grandparents that did do all that they could, but yet still this individual still made. Now remember, now all this still boils down to a decision. And
let's look at the statistics. Okay, so if you were to tell me, let's just look at a typical 10 family unit. Okay, if you told me there were 10 families and 10 families were in a similar economic situation, similar environment, all of this other stuff, 10 families and and they raise their kids and then all of a sudden, 2 families that kids raised up and now had kids of their own. Well, something fell off the wagon, and now these 2 kids or these 2 families now have to rely on the grandparents as primary custodians of care. Then that I would say is normal, because that there's always going to be a percentage of loss. That's what you call marginal error.
Marginal error, right.
Okay? That's not what's happening in our communities. Okay? This is not 2 families out of 10. This is 9 families out of 10. 9. There used to be a time where you could say there was one crazy house on the block and you knew to stay the hell away from them because they was crazy.
They was crazy, yeah.
Okay? Now, there's one sane house on the block and everybody else is crazy. So to that I say, I don't want to hear the excuse of, I don't know what happened. You know what the hell happened. See, we have to look very, very discriminately at the action that we're taking and how that plays out. You can't get turned up till you're 40 and then decide, yeah, now I need to get my stuff together. Haven't prepared a home. Matter of fact, there are people that have gotten married and children, and still do not have an understanding of meal planning and preparation, who still don't have an understanding of how to properly manage a household. I think the most detrimental skill that we are missing in our community is the lack of adults who have any sort of skills on household management. And what that basically means is, do I know how to iron some clothes? Do I know how to sew some clothes? Do I know how to prepare a meal? Do I know how to clean up? Do I know how to take some trash out? Do I know how to turn a light bulb? First of all, you're not even self-sufficient. You are dependent. So we have created a culture of flashy codependence. See, they have all of the looks that says that they're qualified, that says that they're ready, but their character and performance tells us otherwise, and they're failing horrendously. Horrendously. So if you're failing in those areas, we can only imagine how deficient the child rearing situation is. Hell, most of y'all can't even decide what church you want to go to. Let's start there. So if you haven't even agreed on a fundamental basis of spirituality and a fundamental basis of how you are to manage your household, how the hell are you going to raise kids to have any sort of anchoring? But you did allude to something earlier in your point where you were talking about the bull, but I would liken it to the steer. Many times a rancher will begin to evaluate his steer and say, okay, this one's past its prime. No longer can lactate, so I can't use it for dairy. Too long, this won't even be able to be something I can send to market. And if I wait too much longer and the disease starts to show, then I can't even use this dang gum thing for leather. Hence the term good for nothing. We unfortunately have created a culture that now is massively producing good for nothing.
Good for nothings. Mass production, good for nothing.
Can't keep a job. You don't want to go to a job because that's not paying enough for you. Now, bear in mind now, you have no skills, no specialties that mandate or relegate that. But you do demand a certain level of pay. You also demand the hours and the times in which you're going to go to someone's job. But you have neither the training, experience, special skills.
Good point. Hey, Georgia, go ahead. You got 2 minutes. I'm
Are the gatekeepers. And our problem is we have mass-produced good-for-nothing males and have failed to produce valor or valiant men. That's a thought. So we've mass-produced good-for-nothings, and we have ostracized and emasculated the men of valor. Thank you for my time.
Oh, man. Thank you. Woo, 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 woo. Hey, you know what? I can't say enough about that. I cannot say enough. And it's hard to even come back with a comment on that one. But hey, I see the lights are flashing in the distance and the helicopters are in the air right now. I'm getting the helicopter signal. And that's letting me know that is all the time we have here on iHeart Intellectual Radio, the Chronicles of Rohn. Another hot show, another hot topic, y'all. This is why we say all the time on this show, and are a race of people and not species. Hey, shout out to my sponsors, because I gotta pay some bills because they help pay my bill on the end of that 4. Check out my man Alex down there on 85th Avenue in Markham. Hey, and as always, not my monkey, not my circus. The Batman is headed to the Batmobile.
Gun up on my waist, booted and suited in them black case. I'm looking for some hood rats that I take to the back cave. Y'all lame like blank man, while I'm steady serving them like